You've already seen the ALM Accelerator for easy Power Apps deployment. Today, you'll see the easiest way to install it. My fellow Power CAT Grant has emerged from the mad scientist lab that we keep him in to show us the CoE Command Line Interface. It's here to make your life easier today on Power CAT Live. Welcome to Power CAT Live. My name is Phil Topness with the Power CAT team, and today I'm here with fellow Power CAT Grant Archibald. Hey, Grant.
Hey, Phil. How's it going?
First, before we start talking about the CoE CLI, talk about a CLI. What is a command line interface, and why do we need it when we've got everything in the user interface?
I think a lot of it is people go to the docs, they read through the docs, and they follow through those manual steps. And it can be like repetitive, and you can't really scale it well. Whereas you take a command line, it enables you to kind of run those commands quickly. You can go share configuration files with different people and repeat it. You can build those things into your build processes. So there's lots of different ways the command line is used, not just open up a command prompt and run something.
Yeah, and it saves you the carpal tunnel of having to go to all those places.
Yeah.
And what you're going to show, like these installations, they involve taking Power Platform and Azure and all that together. Like, how does the CLI help you with that?
It's the big thing we tried to do is when we kind of look, especially looked at the Center of Excellence, is we've got lots of components running together. We've got like Azure Active Directory, we've got Azure DevOps, we've got the Power Platform, and there's just a lot of components to bring together. And like, we think, how do we simplify that? We had a lot of docs pages that go through all the steps. We're saying, okay, how do I take that down to like a half-hour process? I could share a simple configuration file to enable people to get on board and get used to running this really, really quickly.
So you're going to talk about a specific command line interface, the CoE CLI. So is this for installing the CoE, the Center of Excellence Starter Kit?
At the moment, we started with the ALM Accelerator because that was the one of the things when I joined the team. We're trying to automate that process. But this definitely, one of the things we could look at the roadmap is, how could this apply to the rest of the Center of Excellence Starter Kit? So, install core or nurture or govern to use the CLI to go install those components and make that process easier also.
And the ALM Accelerator, I'll put a link to the video here, but that's just one of the ways that one of the Power Apps that Power CAT has built to make it easier to manage your ALM process, and which you've also been deep on. Yeah, so can you show us how the CLI works?
Sure, let's have a look. We'll just jump in and we'll just start off having a look at what the command line interface does. So I've got it installed, and I'm just going to start off the process of installing the ALM Accelerator. I've got a configuration file already generated, and it's going to go through the process of getting myself some access tokens to the different resources. So across the Power Platform, across Azure Active Directory, getting all those components, and then it's going to go and have a look at Azure Active Directory, start the process off of creating a service principal, creating a group, and then once it's got that Azure Active Directory, it's going to then flow on and look at setting up Azure DevOps and all the extensions and the projects that it needs, and then finally it'll go to the Power Platform and import the managed solution and get that configured.
So wait, though. How many, if I were to do this through the docs, how many pages of docs am I looking at?
I think it's roughly could I take up to about 60 pages of docs?
And you got
lots.
And you just did all that with the CLI?
So I just did all that as part of the CLI. So what that whole process is just going through and automating all those steps. So you don't have to kind of go through individual things. So what I find is a lot of people go set up like a demo tenant to start.
Right.
It's just like an imposing task. Like, okay, I've got to go understand Azure DevOps.
Yeah.
I've got to understand Azure Active Directory. I've got to understand the Power Platform, and then all the different environments. And that whole process just takes a lot of time.
So that script is bringing in all these resources you're talking about from Azure and DevOps and Power Platform. How does it know where to go in your environment?
So there's a configuration behind it. So in that command line, I had like a test.json where I had all the configuration settings. So let's have a dive in. Let's have a look at it. So what it kind of generated is we kind of looked at, what the names of the groups, the Azure DevOps organizations, the different Dataverse entries that I was kind of connecting to make this configuration working in terms of here's the environments deploying to, these are the environments from validation, test, and production. So it basically uses this configuration file plus your logged in Azure Active Directory credentials to then go through the process of orchestrating the whole process beginning to end.
And now, did you write that by hand, or is the CLI involved in that?
No, I didn't write that by hand. I mean, if I jump back in, the way that I kind of generated that...
It doesn't write anything by hand.
I didn't write all that by hand, no. So if I kind of go into this and go generate, and I'm going to go generate an install file, and the file I want to go to generate this time is test2.json. And it'll just go through the process of asking you some questions around how would you like to automate this? So what the level of log, what components? You just want to install all the components or Azure Active Directory? I'll choose all of them. Do I want to go, so it has defaults in here, or if I don't know what these mean, I can go question mark, and it gives you some more information around what it is, how does it work.
Now, how do you see enterprises using this today?
I think really what I see is some customers, depends on where they are on this adoption curve. Some people are already using Azure DevOps and they're just like, I want to configure my values and I will start using it. Some people are earlier on the adoption curve and they might be just manually doing it today. So the idea might be to say, maybe start off with a demo tenant, install it all, see it all working, get familiar with it. And once you're familiar with it, then go, okay, maybe we could put it into my test tenant, see how it applies in my organization, then roll it out to production. So I think really start off so you can start getting comfortable with seeing what all the components and how they all fit together.
And I assume you've got more planned since we're talking about the CoE CLI, but it's only doing the ALM Accelerator. What's next?
I think the next logical thing is to think about, how do we start doing upgrades? Like within the ALM Accelerator, it does the install. The next obvious thing is as we do our monthly releases, how do we do updates for those? So the idea is just kind of make that just easier. And so all the different parts that you go to our docs pages today is how do we automate that?
I imagine you spend a lot of your day walking around saying, how do I automate that?
Pretty much, yeah. It's how do I make it easier? I mean, if I start doing the thing more than once, I go, well, okay, how am I going to make it easier and just repeat the process?
I respect this. Now, if people want to try this out for themselves, where do they go?
So there's a link we'll post down below, which just talks through, how do you install it? How do you get started? Which will kind of take you through the same process I did in terms of once you've got it installed, go generate your configuration file, start doing an install, kind of get hands-on with it.
Grant, thanks so much for showing this. And this is amazing work. I appreciate you sharing it today.
Okay. Thanks, Phil.
Now, before you go, we are making new videos every week. Click this Microsoft logo to subscribe and you'll be the first to see them. And look over here for a couple of videos that can make you a Power Platform expert.